Did you know that China is hoarding a massive amount of food? They will soon have over 2/3 of the globe's corn reserves, over half of its rice, and over half of its wheat. But when asked about it, China lies. So what does China know that we don't? China is the world's #1 importer, relying on the rest of the world to keep their people fed. This makes them the canary in the coal mine when it comes to global food shortages. As Americans, we need to be prepared for potential food shortages. That's where 4Patriots Survival Food comes in. Their kits are compact, stackable, and have received a 5-star review for their flavor and taste. And right now, you can get 10% off your first purchase by using code RTD at checkout at 4patriots.com. Don't wait. Prepare today. Once again, use code RTD at 4patriots.com and save 10% on your first purchase.
Hello and welcome to RTD TV Live with Tom, your contributor and sometimes guest host. I'm going to start this stream a little bit early tonight so that people can come in and join and listen to me spout off about things that I want to talk about to the camera. So if you're down in the chat, let me know. Tell me where you're coming from. I know that I'm competing with Timcast right now, but who needs to watch that guy, right? Am I right? When you got RTD TV and me spouting at the camera. Let me just start off by saying that all of the views expressed are my own. They are not condoned by, sanctioned by, approved of, or agreed with by Mike, RTD TV, or anybody else involved. They are only my own. And let me also say that if you have not already, definitely use Mike's promo code for some 4Patriots survival food. It is a lifesaver. I have used this company for a long time. I don't know the prices now, but when I purchased my survival food not that long ago, or a few years ago, they were the better priced amongst the different vendors. And I have actually eaten, sorry, let me turn up my mic. And I've actually eaten this food, and it's not bad at all. It's pretty good. It's really good, actually. So I definitely recommend you get it. Use his promo code, help support the channel. So we got about, maybe about 8 minutes before we're supposed to go live. So we'll give people some time to get in here. Today, we're going to be talking about the collapse of complex systems. And we're going to use the economy as an example to show how this isn't just economic. It's every facet of your life is following the same trajectory and the same path that the economy is. Okay, you have a lot of powerful people who recognize what's going on, and they seek to exploit it. We're being attacked on every front. This is a war. That's why I named my channel The Coming Conflict, because it's not conflict in the traditional sense as, people fighting each other or kinetic war. This is a war of all sorts. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. But I don't want to get too far in the weeds. We're going to try to keep it at 8:10 when we officially start. So if you're down in the chat, let me know. We got Sup Tom checking in from Texas, Joel Webb. Nice to see you, Joel Webb. We got Funky Blue with some explosions and thumbs up. I appreciate those explosions and thumbs up. We got Joshua Carpenter, Machine Gun Tommy in the house. Hey, Joshua, how you doing, man? Glad to see you stopping in. And this is a much better place to be than Timcast. I don't know if any of you guys saw Mike and Mario's show today with forgive me, I forget his name, something Perez. It was an interesting show. That's actually how I found Mike and eventually got to know him. Where I'm at now is through the Mike and Mario show. If you have not seen it, it is a definite worthwhile watch. The guest, I believe his last name is Perez, was quite interesting indeed. He's a character, and he seems to be a successful character. So I'll leave it at that. You go ahead and watch it. So like I said, what we're talking about today is primarily we're using the economy and we're going to use that as a filter to look through everything else that's going on. And the other filter we're going to be using is the fourth turning. And if you guys haven't read that book, if you don't know the basic theory and philosophy behind the fourth turning, I highly recommend you read the book, get it on Audible. It's like a 4-hour listen. It's incredibly insightful, and it was written in 1999. Some of the things they talk about in that book just happen to be very prophetic listening to it now in 2023 or reading it now in 2023. We got Funky Blue, John Perez. Oh, yes, that was his name, John Perez. Very, very cool show that they did earlier. So I guess we got some people here. It's only 17, but tell your friends, send your little Twitter links out. Tell everybody, tune in. We want to get Mike's channel booming right now. Tell him to turn off Timcast, watch it later. Tune in to RTD TV and listen to me blabble on about the economy and the state of the world, as I tend to do. And then real quick, right before we get started, what I do want to say is generally what I've been doing as the contributor spot on Mike's channel is Tuesdays and Sundays. Because of Father's Day this past Sunday, that was kind of off the table. I had planned to do this past Tuesday, but I had some computer issues and other personal things come up. I couldn't make it. So what I think I'm going to do is stick to Tuesdays and Sundays. I think this is going to be my Tuesday stream. I'm going to try to still do Sunday, and I'm going to do one of the 2 days. I'm going to do a politics of money episode like this. I'm going to try to relate the political and the economic situation how I see it. Not that it's the correct way, not that it's the truth. It's the truth as I see it. And then the other day, I'll do something more out there, like the alien video I did not that long ago, or just something that I see as, maybe a psyop or just something different, something not economic. So it'll be one day politics of money, one day something different. All right. And then we'll get to this last comment and we'll get on to my presentation, I guess you could say. Joshua Carpenter, any thoughts on how the conversion to CBDC will affect the elites and allow for money laundering black projects through the 3-letter agencies? Yeah, actually, I have a whole lot of thoughts on that, and I will answer that before I get into the bulk of this presentation, because we are living at what could be described as the end of history. There are certain people, especially in the globalist institutions. I want to be careful not to get Mike's channel in trouble, but it's like WWF, but without the second W, that believe we are at the end of history, and this is year zero, I believe is what they call it. And I'm going to have to agree with them to a certain extent. The CBDC is reactionary. I don't believe it's a grand conspiracy by any stretch of the imagination. I believe the CBDC is reactionary to the collapse of a complex system. And every complex system that we're going to go over today is going to be exploited by people who wish to enslave us, who wish to gain more power in crisis. That's the default position of humanity. And the big sticking point for these globalist types, okay, whether you believe they're concocting these events or they're exploiting them, the big sticking point is America. America and its constitutions, its liberties, its freedoms, and its God-given rights that shall not be infringed. Again, in the best case, we know where we are at right now in history. So with that being said, let's get into it. Take my face down, and we're just going to do a quick synopsis of what the fourth turning is. Okay. The fourth turning is the Strauss-Hall political theory. It was a book written in 1999. And basically what it does is it breaks every cycle into 20-year blocks of 80 years. Okay. You see here, you have the spring, which is the high. That's when times are good. Everybody's happy. All right. Then you have the summer, the awakening. That's when people start to realize maybe they have too much time on their hands because things are good. And they start to contemplate and they wonder and they start to dissect things that ought not be dissected. We could use the LGBT thing as an example. The autumn is the unraveling. It's when that deep contemplation and that deep thought, these people seem to think that they need to challenge the status quo. And then you go to the winter, which is the crisis. So the perfect example of this is the last fourth turning was World War II. What preceded that was the Great Depression. You had the Roaring Twenties. That was the I want to say the autumn and the winter of the last the last fourth turning. But what's important to remember with these turning events is A, they are not divine. A, they are not prophetic. This is just a retrospective that these guys came up with that tends to be true for American history. You can also apply it to the histories of other countries, but generally, in a general sense, countries and societies don't go through fourth turnings all at one time. But what we are experiencing now is the mother of all fourth turnings. This is the big one. This is the whole world going through this fourth turning and this collapse at the same time. And it is important to recognize that what we are going through right now is a collapse. And that's not a black-pilled statement. What that is a statement of fact. We are people who have, for a very long time, and I'm speaking about Americans and probably most Western Europeans and even, some of the Eastern Europeans, but, the West. We are people who have, for a very long time, viewed the world through a certain lens. And that lens right now is breaking. And what's happening is that lens breaks. You have all of these competing ideologies coming up to battle for the right to define what is true and what is false. And that is an important part of this, because we're going to get into the economic part here in a second, but it's everything. Every facet of our life right now is in existential crisis. Okay. There is a battle for the very heart and soul of what it means to be human going on right now, at the most very literal sense of the word human, especially with this transhumanism and this AI. But it's all pieces of a whole. And the economy just is the most illustrative way to describe it, I think. And especially with this audience being economically minded, being people who can see through propagandistic headlines and narratives, and also just being people. We are people. We live in this country, or whatever country you're in. We live in this society. We go through these things, and we're being fed propaganda to try to counter our own experiences. And that's part of this war, this fourth turning, this war against every facet of society. But we're going to start with the economy. I'm kind of rambling right now. Let me real quick just see if we got any comments. We got these new kids are also very aggressive. They are definitely going to play a big role in the coming conflict. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think there is a propensity to rely on this get woke, go broke. And I do that too. I think that, man, when these hard times that are coming, and they are coming, when they get here, these people are going to be shaken out of this. They can only afford to believe these crazy things because they are comfortable. But then at the other side of my mind, I think, well, wait a second. If this is truly what they believe, when hard times come, they're going to dig in harder to their beliefs as a means of security. And that's exactly what's happening. It's exactly what's happening. All right. Because the system itself is in collapse, and the system itself is going to do everything it can to maintain power. And I want to start by saying that the system is in collapse. I believe that to be true. I do not believe to be true that there is a grand cabal of conspirators working to collapse the system. I do believe there is a grand cabal of people who are working together to exploit what they know is coming. And I believe that is why society is in the condition that it's in, and the economy, in every facet of our lives. It's because there are powerful people who maybe have a little bit of extra foreknowledge. They know what's coming. And anybody with eyes can see the chaos that surrounds us right now. And there are powerful people that are jockeying for position in order to come out on top when this great reset, great reshuffling, great collapse happens. And that's why I said at the beginning, this isn't a black pill. This is information that you should use to be aware that we are in the fight of our lives. We're in the fight of our lives to be able to maintain our lifestyle economically. We're in the fight of our lives to be able to be free men and women. We're in the fight of our lives to protect our families, our societies, everything. And it's not going away. Okay. That's why that I'm sure all of you, when you read economic news or you live your day-to-day life, they give you the propagandists in the media. Okay. They give you all of this flowery news about how everything is okay, everything is fine, but you know deep in your soul, even if you can't describe it, that nothing is all right. And you know deep in your soul that you don't see light at the end of the tunnel. Because what is coming to fix this? There's nothing that can fix this. From an economic standpoint, the world is so heavily indebted, financialized, and complicated. That's the problem. These systems have become so complicated that how on earth can we, as a modern day society living in 2023, begin to repair something that was architected, designed, modified, changed, fixed, repaired dozens and dozens and dozens of times over the course of the last 80 years. We can't. It's like repairing a motor for a vehicle, having never done so, never seen the vehicle, and any help you have is in a different language that you can't read. And there's nobody on earth that can read the language, and there's nobody on earth who's ever touched the motor before. That's the state of our society. Okay? Back in the day, what they used to do was debt jubilees. All right? Because I heard this come up today, actually, on Mike and Mario's show. And a debt jubilee, basically what it was, I think it was usually about 50 years. You can read this here if you want. It's on the screen. Everything that I'm bringing up right now, this is just headlines. These are just talking points to move my story along. A debt jubilee, I think it generally every 50 years. This goes back to like Babylonian times, or Sumer. And basically the gist of it wasn't every 50 years all debts are forgiven because we need to make sure the people are well. No, the idea was that if we don't forgive these debts, the creditors will start seizing land, seizing slaves, and at a certain point will become a challenge to the state. These debt jubilees were instituted by kings and emperors and whatever to keep control of their population. And that might sound counterintuitive looking at it through a lens of today, but think about it. if you had these creditors that were able to lend people money knowing they couldn't pay it back, only to seize the person and the property as slaves and their land, at some point, one of those creditors or enough of them could get together and pose a challenge to the state itself. And we actually have almost the exact opposite today, whereas the state itself has become subordinate to the lenders. The state itself is almost secondary to the banking system, almost secondary to the lending system. And it's this weird system where one needs the other. And in the middle of it is you and I. But at least at this time right now, we can't be made slaves. And the state is still subjugate to our will to an extent, as long as we exercise that will. I just brought the debt jubilee topic up because it's not a thing that's going to happen. It's not a thing that's going to happen until if it happens, it will be the state trying to wrest control back from the financial institutions. It will be war between the nation state and the moneyed interest, the banking cartel, the IMF. If something like that were to happen, it would be, in my opinion, the equivalency of nuclear war. It would be unfathomable to think of the outcome of the state trying to wrest power from the banking system. I don't think that's going to happen. Okay, enough yammer. So these are the points we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about all the parts of our society that they're telling us are all rosy and good, but we know that they're not. We know they're not. Okay, here we go. Biden plugs pro-union record economic agenda at his first major 2024 campaign rally. Well, Biden says the economy is great, right? Former Vice President Joe Biden says the economy is great. But let me ask you a question. When you go to the store, are things more expensive than they were, say, 2 years ago? Do you worry more about your finances? Have you ever considered having to buy emergency food before because you don't know just what's going to happen, whether it be with the dollar or the food supply? My guess is that all of those things are things you've thought about. So in that respect, Biden can't tout anything about the economy because the economy right now is some carcass. It's some reanimated being that it's the last thing that's going to go. And right now, I believe there's a war on for who is going to control it. Some people believe it's going to be BRICS. Some people believe it's going to be the IMF. My personal opinion is that the BRICS and the IMF are in this together. This whole Ukraine conflict seems the perfect excuse for Klaus Schwab and his cronies to go through with the Great Reset. Recently, you had Bill Gates in Beijing. There's a WEF conference in Beijing, like right now or coming up soon. Maria Zakharova, the head of the Russian Central Bank, used to work for the IMF, I believe. She used to work for the IMF or like International Bank of Settlements, one of those two. So it doesn't seem to me that Xi Jinping or Putin have any interest at all in fighting the globalists, as it has often been ascribed to them by other people. It seems to me that all of the big countries, mainly China, Russia, and the United States, the regime that currently occupies the highest stations of power in our country, They seem to all be singing off the same hymnal with the same goal. And it seems that the Ukraine conflict was the perfect catalyst because they need emergency. They need emergency. And they know that what is coming is unavoidable. And that is the key to all of this. They know it's coming, but they want it to be on their terms. They know the debt load globally is unsustainable. They know this fiat system is unsustainable. They know that people are indebted, and eventually they're just going to do their own jubilee and say, I'm not paying you anymore. So they need the collapse to happen on their terms. It has to be that way. It has to be that way for these people, because otherwise we, free men and women, might be able to exert our authority on the future we choose to embark on. But everybody involved in the economy knows that it's cracking. It's already broken. What we're going through now are just charades. They're just the last platitudes of a system trying to keep people calm while they get their ducks in order. You see here, U.S. PMIs tumble in June as manufacturing slump hits service sector. This is in Europe. Fed seasonal shenanigans continue as adjusted domestic bank deposit outflows grow. So why is that happening? Why is nobody making things? China's got a 20% youth unemployment. Their imports and exports have dropped. Why is nobody spending money? Why is credit card debt at all-time highs? If the economy is so great, it's because the economy is not so great. In fact, the economy is being waged war on right now by people, moneyed, powered interests, bankers, and state actors who smelt blood in the water, and they knew that now was their time to pounce. There's no coincidence as to why all of these things are happening now. There's no coincidence as to why, after a certain orange man left office and there was no longer the voice of the American people even represented a little bit, that all of a sudden these chaotic tragedies, these chaotic events just kept taking place one after another. And you think to yourself, are these people incompetent that are doing this? Are they malevolent? No, I think they're reactionary. I think that they are at war with common sense and their own ideological perversions, where in one side of their brain they think, well, I'm a politician, I'm this, I'm that, I still have to do these things I've always done. But then the other side of their brain, they say, wait a second, the things I've always done are no longer working because the system is broken. So somehow these people, the powers that be, are trying to rationalize those two things and move forward. And the only thing they care about is preserving their own power and status. Let me see if I got any comments down here. How does he know? Yeah, and greedy politicians. And I think the key word for today is existential. We are being waged war on all fronts. Okay? All fronts. And it's not some petty thing that can be discounted as not important. No. It's extremely important. What is coming is unavoidable. This is the collapse of complex systems. There are two sides. There are the powers that be, those who wish to subjugate us via this collapse. And then there are the rest of us. There are me and you and millions and billions of other people. And it is existential. It is existential for each side. What that means: existential, of, relating to, or affirming existence. What that means is one side will win and one side will lose. The game that we're playing, this period of history that we are in, this is not going to be a kumbaya moment. This is not going to be us coming together and shaking hands and finding middle ground. One side wants to destroy us. One side wants to be left alone. The side that wants to destroy us knows that if we are able to be left alone, it will not exist. And the side that wants to be left alone knows that if they do not stop the other side, they will not exist. And that's like that for every facet of our daily lives, including the economy. The people who want to push CBDCs on us know that if they do not get their way and we do not comply, the jig is up. They lose power. If we were to say, go buy gold and silver and debank ourselves, get our weight up, as Mike says. And we know that the side who wants to push CBDCs on us, if they get their way, we are no longer free men and women, and the jig is up. The game is over. But that extends far beyond the economy. These are complex systems that intertwine, and they might seem nebulous, this idea of the economy. What is the economy? The economy is the way you perceive your ability, and the economy as you see it is not the economy as maybe a Chinese citizen sees it or Chinese subject sees it. The economy as you know it in a capitalist country is not the way it is in a communist country. So while this idea of the economy might be nebulous, it is definable and it is different. It's not one overarching law of thermodynamics that does not change based on your region of the planet, because it absolutely does. And the same goes for all of these other things that are being waged war on. Okay? So we went over the economy. What else are they waging war on? They're waging war on religion. Here, all of these headlines, I just literally pulled up headlines to touch on each section of our life right now that's being ripped to shreds and is at battle over. Here we go. For religion, this is the one I got. God is trans church no longer hosting Pride Mass at gay monument, cites security concerns. Now, I don't know about you, but 10 years ago, this would have seemed like some sort of Onion or the Babylon Bee article. But no. They are, sorry, I have an itch on my ankle. They, meaning the powers that are in competition with the people, they need to exploit this collapse. Now, I'm not saying that their actions haven't played into the acceleration of the collapse, but what I'm saying is all of this societal rot and chaos you see are more symptoms of a collapse that is inevitable and unavoidable. I believe they are being exploited and not engineered totally. Just like in World War II, you need to get rid of the church. You got to get rid of religion. I don't care if it's Christianity, Islam, Judaism, whatever. You can't have that. Because the playbook that's being used historically would be called Marxism. That would be what it's called historically. But I don't know what you would call is happening today. Because Marxism generally takes a society and their angst and their concerns and their worries, and it exploits them, or it creates them, or it makes people believe there are problems that don't exist, whereas there are real problems that exist right now. And the Marxist powers that be, for lack of a better word, are just finding opportunity where before there was none. So we need to stand up and battle every day. If you're a religious person, you got to say no to this. I'm sorry, absolute truth does exist for the time being. But that's another thing they're coming for. If you can't say to me, if you tell me that you identify as a snow leopard, I'm sorry, it's the fruit of the poisonous tree. Everything you say to me thereafter is meaningless to me. If you are a 35-year-old man and you tell me, hello, my name is Sylvester and I identify as a snow leopard, and then you give me the most articulate explanation of thermodynamics that is accurate and complete, I don't trust you or believe you, because you started from a premise that is completely illogical and crazy. Truth is truth or it is not. And this is the attack of common sense. This is the attack of truth. This is the erasure of knowing right from wrong, up from down, good from bad. And it's marching right through every aspect of our life. And it's because we are collapsing. The whole global system is collapsing. And that could be a good thing as long as we fight for every inch. Don't give 1 inch to the people who wish to oppress you, because everything these people are doing is a means to oppress us. Let me see if I got any chats down here. We got Jay Northup. Weather weapons being deployed all over the flat plain we live on. Floods, hail, tornado, crop failures, power outages. Yeah, I've heard that. I definitely don't doubt it. We get these weird, crazy weather events seemingly at the perfect times to push certain narratives. But let's move on to the next thing, the next complex system that's collapsing along with the economy. The nation. China negotiating with Havana about joint military training facility in Cuba. This is the Cuban Missile Crisis all over again. But we seemingly have no one in Washington who seems keen on protecting the American people, because there's a fifth column in this country. Unlike in every other fourth turning, unlike in every other historic event or disaster that America has gone through, there's always been that underpinning of what it means to be an American. Love the country that has given so much to so many, that has sparked innovation and freedom. The first nation ever to come up with the idea that the people are the sovereign. There was always that fundamental love of country. But now, nobody's doing anything about this, because we have a man who calls himself president, who by all accounts seems to be bought and paid for by the CCP. His son sure seems to be as well. You have a whole fifth column in this country that care more about themselves and their own personal wealth and would gladly sell the nation out or ignore its destruction for their own personal gain, or because they think we're evil. It's a war. It's a war between the powers that hate this country, or whatever country you're in. This is a global phenomenon. It's happening in Canada, France, the UK. This is a fight between the people who believe that their country is a place worth saving and those who wish to destroy it. There will only be one winner. And the people who love the countries that they're in and believe that they're worth saving need to fight and not give up 1 single inch. Not one. The next thing that they are attacking is our political systems. Listen to this. This is from today. Obama warns democratic institutions are creaky, but Trump's indictment is proof rule of law still exists in the United States. Obama, coming from a man who said that he was going to fundamentally transform this country, and I believe he made a lot of progress in that regard. You're talking about this man saying that our institutions are creaky, but because the criminal justice system has been weaponized against a former president that they're trying to put in prison for 400 years, that somehow that's a good thing. You have people who love this country and are willing to play the political game in the way it was meant to be played by winning over the hearts and minds of the people. And then you have the people who feel that the politicians that we lend our governance to and send to Washington, D.C. are subjugate to the deep state and their whims and all of their machinations. Because that's what this is in this example. If Donald Trump were to get convicted, what does that do? It gives the deep state authority to continue to do exactly what it is they want to do. And that's why we cannot give up 1 inch. Not 1 inch. They are trying to take your voice away. That's what this is. They're trying to subvert our political system, our constitutional republic. This is the subversion. This is the erasure of your voice. I don't care if you like Donald Trump, but if Donald Trump wants to run for president and you want to vote for him, it should not be some shadowy group of lawyers and deep state operatives parroted by Obama that tell you you can't do it. Sorry, I would feel the same way if it was RFK. I'd feel the same way if it was anybody else. That's not how things work in this country, especially in a case like this. But we're at war. Not a physical war, not a kinetic war. I do not condone violence. Violence is stupid. It is the fastest way to lose this information war. But what I'm saying is we are in conflict during a collapse to hold on and gain as much ground as we can. Because in the end, and this cycle will end, we don't know how, we don't know when, but in the end, it is incumbent upon the people who care enough to be the ones to architect its reconstruction. The next thing we have breaking down is our society. And this one seems to be much more easily connected back into the economy. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? 75 people shot, 13 fatally across Chicago over Juneteenth holiday weekend, the police say. Society's breaking down. There's no rule of law. And there's powers that be that want it that way. The George Soroses and these people. This is an engine. This is absolutely an engineered situation. Unlike the others where I feel are circumstantial and being exploited, this was created. And now it's being created, it's being exploited, but I think it's gotten out of control. And you're going to have more institutions reach their fingers in to try to take control via societal means, social enforcement. The whole idea with all of this is things get so bad. These people are seeing things get so bad that eventually they expect us to cry out for help. The key to all of this is don't cry out for help. You are the only one you can rely on. You and your family, the people closest around you, your community. Don't cry out for help for the people who wish to enslave you, because that's all of them. All of them. What did Reagan say? The worst thing you can hear is I'm from the government and I'm here to help. And this is a game of inches. This is a game of inches in an info war during a societal collapse and a fourth turning. And in the next 5 years, I believe this world will look unlike anything that is recognizable to us today. Then you have the attack on the family. This gets a lot of news. And I am absolutely 100% this is important. 100% this is important and it's relevant, but it bleeds into these other culture war topics that are less relevant. California becomes first sanctuary state for transgender youth seeking medical care. So what they're saying is, this is just, again, a headline as an example, that is, if your child believes they are a snow leprechaun and they run to California, the state will take them from you. Hell, the state might even put you in jail if you're a California resident. How does that sit with you? This is a game of inches. And they're fighting a game of miles. This is a place that this is an area that needs to be fought back against harder. Now, I don't have an answer how to fight back against this outside of keep your kids out of school. Watch what they watch and be cognizant of what they're reading and learning. I believe Hitler even said that if you have the children, you have the future. And that's the playbook they're playing. But this only happens because of all the other things I brought up. Something this terrible and insane can only exist and be allowed to exist because the rest of our society and our existence is in such an utter state of decay. That's the only reason something like this could happen. It's just another symptom of a collapse of complex systems. Then you have the individual. The individual, you as a person, is being waged war for. 1 in 4 Canadians support euthanasia on grounds of poverty. They want you to believe that life is not worth living unless you can live it to a certain standard. In Canada, they're letting people kill themselves. This has terrible, terrible, terrible echoes of the 1910s, 20s, 30s, and 40s. Eugenics was a popular thing back before the Great Depression. Very popular. Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger. It was very, very popular idea to breed the perfect human. It wasn't just the Yahtzees. It was a globally popular idea. And then look what that got us. Society is putting people in such tremendous pain. They're denying, they are abusing this system has become so abusive and authoritarian that people feel there's no way out. So they turn to drugs, they turn to this. It's a game of inches. And if you ever find yourself in a situation where you look for something like this, you need to say, you know what? Maybe, just maybe, I can find something worth going on for. And with that being said, let me bring up one thing. A lot of what we're going through right now is because of complacency. Because there's no challenge left. We live in this society, this world where things have become so easy. There's no dragons left to slay. There's no mysteries left to solve. There's no oceans left to sail. The summation of human knowledge is right here. The summation of human knowledge, or at least what we perceive to be human knowledge. And that takes a lot of bite out of a man. It takes a lot of bite out of a culture. If you grow up thinking that everything that is to be known is already known and it's on your smartphone, why would you ever have the original thought of trying to figure something out on your own? I think that has a lot to do with the situation we are in now. We've been siloed off. We've been siloed off and we've been separated. So much to the point where there's a debate about whether or not RFK and some doctor should debate on Joe Rogan. And there are two sides of a seemingly simple topic that seem to think in two different ways. The idea of truth has been shattered. Absolute truth does exist, but going back to the first example, because of religion being attacked, the idea that absolute truth exists is also being attacked. We as humans do not operate at a base level living together in kumbaya. We are creatures that are meant to be in conflict. We are creatures that do not inherently value life outside of our own family. The things that we believe are normal and inherent to humanity now are Judeo-Christian principles that are being attacked. And with that attack comes the attack on truth. And that's why it's important to fight in this game of inches, to never surrender what the truth is. The truth is the truth. And to save Mike any problems with YouTube, there are things that will always be the way they are, and they are immutable. When you wake up in the morning and you look in the mirror, you know exactly who you are every day, and that cannot change. Now, you can change the person you want to be. You can strive to do things better, worse, whatever, but who you are, your human structure is immutable. We'll use that as an example. Cannot be changed. It does not matter how you feel about the way you look or the body you were born into. It is forever and immutable. But that basic idea, that's where this whole LGBT, whatever the frick comes in. It's the attack on truth. And we're in a game of inches, and you need to fight for every inch. Never, ever surrender to other people's phobias and mental shortcomings. I'll put it that way. Now, with all the other things that are under attack right now, there's also something else more sinister happening. The attack on our history. A trigger warning for the Constitution. Fury as woke National Archives adds harmful language alert to America's founding documents. Oh, Tom, whatever. What's the big deal? It's a really big deal. Because that whole adage, the victors write the history. The victors write the history books. Well, now they're just rewriting them right in front of our face. So they're taking history away from us. In the case of America, I would recommend have a pocket constitution, a pocket declaration, have a Bible. Make sure that you have copies of things, and you can say, no, what you're saying is incorrect. I have it here. It has never changed. They are coming for the past. During this collapse, they'll be able to rewrite a lot of things. They'll be able to fundamentally change all of our stories and legends, our tales, our history, if we do not hang on to those things as precious and as important, because they are. I'm sure most of these historical stories and the Pledge of Allegiance and the Constitution, the Gettysburg Address, you probably in your life never thought for a second they would be important to you again, but we're getting to a point where they are. Because the powers that are exploiting this collapse want to take your history from you. If they can take your history and your religion, your identity, your freedom, you're the perfect slave. And not only that, once they get done with all of that, they have the perfect replacement for the broken society that they plan to leave behind. They have AI. So not only will they take the history, your family, your economy, your religion, your culture, your society, they will now make sure that the future is more governable and equitable, diverse, inclusive. AI to replace hiring managers. New study reveals 43% of companies will use AI for interviews by 2024. So where does this all end? And that's the great ponderance. That's what everybody is trying to figure out is what will the event be? Will it be this? Zelensky accuses Russia of plotting a radiation leak attack on Zaporozhye nuclear power plant, a plant that they control in a war that they are by all accounts winning. But maybe this will be it. Maybe it will be President T-shirt over here, all geeked up on that nose candy, who just decides to press a button and blow a freaking nuclear power plant up. Because on top of everything else, we are in kinetic hot war, and there's a new geopolitical power struggle taking shape. And not only do we have internal forces battling for every aspect that I just laid out for you, we have external forces that are co-opting internal forces and also trying to exert their own force onto us. It is extremely important that none of you are pessimistic. If you are religious, to me, this screams Revelations. This screams the coming rapture. But if you're not, it's important to look at this as opportunity. When everything collapses, are you going to be the one that's ready to take advantage of those dirt cheap assets? Buy up a neighborhood for pennies on the dollar because you have gold and silver. Many rich men throughout history were made in times of chaos. So it's important that in this game of inches, we don't step back 1 foot and all of us prepare to seize the reins of power from those who wish to enslave us and rebuild this country back to the way it once was when we were a great nation. I think that is doable, but only if you're knowledgeable of what's happening and you're aware and you can see it as it happens. And I am going to wrap that up. Let me get to some of these chats here. I know I kind of rambled on. We got YouTube Christians. Good stuff, Tom. Thank you very much, my friend. We got Joshua 1984 is here in the Brave New World. Absolutely. We got Permasleep too. Tom, do you toke the holy herb? No, sir, I do not. I am not saying I have not. I just do not. Funky boy, beer is good, God is great, and people are crazy. Amen, brother. Amen to that. And YouTube Christians, what is the website with Debt Jubilee article? I will check for you real quick. It is linalden.com/debt jubilee. I'll see if I can put it into the chat. Give me 1 second. There you go. I think I just dropped it in the chat. There you go. All right. I am going to sign off, my friends. I very much appreciate everybody who stopping by. And I will leave you with one request. Leave a like, comment, tell me what you thought. I will reply to as many comments as I can. I'll be replying on YouTube as 1, 2, or 12. Also, if you like this, please, I request that you follow me on my Rumble channel at The Coming Conflict on Rumble. The links are down in the description. I do politics, geopolitics. I do all kinds of stuff. And yeah, it would be great to see you over there. I have an announcement I'm going to make. I'll more formally announce the announcement on Sunday when I do another live stream on Mike's channel as of right now. But again, just a reminder, in the future for my contributor spots here It's going to be Tuesdays and Sundays. And it's going to be one day will be the politics of money like today. And then another day will probably just be general news, maybe something with aliens, something like that, something fun. So I'm going to sign off, everybody. And just remember, in the information war, knowledge is power, but